Looking at our world from a theological perspective. This is the Theology Central Podcast, making theology central.
Good afternoon, everyone. You can hear the telephone ringing in the background. Can you hear that? Listen. Yes, don't you love that? That's the telephone ringing in the background because I'm coming to you live from my study. And this is one of the reasons we don't do live broadcasts that often from my study, because the doorbell's always ringing, someone's knocking on the door, phone is ringing, dogs are barking. It's just constant interruptions, and it's not conducive to podcasting. But welcome, everyone. It is Monday, June the 21st, 2021. It is currently 5:17 p.m. Central Time. The phone has currently stopped ringing, but we have a lot to talk about, but I'm going to try to do this quickly, all right? Now, we need to talk about the Apple Podcast app. We got a lot of things to talk about here. The Apple Podcast app. The Apple Podcast app has been a train wreck as of late, all right? Recently, they started working on making some changes on the Apple Podcast app, where they're going to put where you can now have a subscription-based model. In other words, you can have your podcast on Apple Podcasts, and people now can subscribe, and you can charge them for that subscription and put some of the content behind a paywall. Now, let me just remind everyone, we will not, under any circumstance, ever put any content behind a paywall. Ever. Never. It will not happen. Now, there are Christian podcasts all over the place that I'll listen to going, okay, here's part of the episode, but if you want to hear the full episode, join our Patreon page. If you want all of our content, do this. Hey, if you want to be able to chat live with the host, you got to join this, or you got to subscribe here, you got to pay this. And then they have different levels. For this, you get one extra episode. For this, you can email the host anytime. And it's just, look, everything about it just seems to me just so fleshly and carnal, because as ministry, why would we put ministry content behind a paywall? Why would we say, oh, I taught this very powerful lesson from, whatever, John chapter 6, and you should hear it. However, you have to subscribe and pay, whatever per month to get the content. It just seems like, no. Freely I have received. Jesus Christ freely gave his life to save me. It cost him, but he freely gave to me, right? We believe salvation is free, right? Because of the grace of God. Freely we have received. And so then freely I should give, right? Freely I have received. I was saved by grace alone, through faith alone, because of Christ alone, not by works, not by anything I can do. So I was saved in a sense, in a way that would be considered free. Does that make sense? Cost him, but it was free. Now there's a cost in following Christ. I understand that, but I think you understand what I'm trying to say. Hopefully I'm making that clear. So if I freely received, should I not freely give and offer the teaching of Scripture and everything that I can do for people as free as possible? So yes, I know Spotify is going to move to a subscription-based model. I know Apple is moving to a subscription-based model. We are not going to do that. Let me just make it clear. Look, now it may hurt us. It may hurt us because obviously the podcast apps that move to a subscription-based model, which podcast are they going to promote? The subscription ones. Why? Well, Apple Podcasts get 30% of the money made for subscription. So if I did a subscription-based model, they would get 30% of everything I make. So clearly they're going to push those to the front. And those of us who don't do that, we're going to be in the land of obscurity where no one's going to discover us. If I open up the Apple Podcast app right now, let me see if I can find this. Give me one, see here. I don't know if they have it here. Oh, here we go. Explore subscriptions. All right. So let me just look here. I'm just looking at the ones they have here. See all. All right. So there's a number of here's the Trials of Frank Carson from LA Times. All right. So here's the trailer. Here's episode 1. Now I can so here it is. I can get bonus episodes and I can listen ad free. All right. I can get 3 days free, and then it's $10 a month. $10 a month if I want to subscribe to this podcast. Now, I don't know how this is going. To be honest, I just think that this is crazy. I really honestly believe this is crazy. I mean, look at how many different subscription services there are already. You got all the music streaming services: Amazon Music, Apple, Spotify, Tidal, Deezer, Pandora, all monthly music streaming services. Then you look at all the things you can subscribe to for your television: Disney Plus, Netflix, the Peacock streaming service, Paramount Plus, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Discovery Plus. I mean, Apple Television Plus. All of the different ones they have, right? How many subscriptions can you have? And now you're going to go along and go, I like that podcast. Okay, let's pay $10 a month for that podcast. Let's pay $10 a month for that podcast. Let's pay $10 a month for that podcast. After just a few podcasts, you're going to be $40, $50 a month. That's just, I don't know how it's going to work, but here is an example of one where I can try it for free, and then I can get this podcast, again, for $9 a month. Let's look at some of these others here. Look at this one. Okay. This one is $3 a month, a little bit more, reasonable there. $3 a month. Let's see. What is this one? This one is in the subscription, but I don't have the subscription stuff set up here, so I don't know why it's there. See, what is this one? Here is $3 a month. Go back here. They don't have this one set up. That's weird. I mean, they're doing a lot of work here on all of this stuff. Here's from the Washington Post, $3 a month. So some of these are $3 a month, which is a little bit better. But again, that's where everything's going to go. How many are you going to subscribe to? Now, I don't know what the future of this holds. I don't know how many people will subscribe. I don't know how well it's going to work, but it's going to be interesting to discover. We're not going to do that. So let me make it very clear. Theology Central, all of our content, we did over 900 episodes last year. That's more than any other podcast you're going to find on Pocket Cast. If you look at that podcast app, I think we're listed as an hourly podcast. Okay, so almost hourly you get new content. Now, we're not actually hourly, but if you just break down how many hours of content we produce in a day, we break down, we give you a lot of content, and it's all for free. Now, you could say, well, you do a lot, but your quality is garbage. Maybe so. Maybe we can improve. But even if we had the highest quality and everyone thought we were amazing, I'm not going to charge. All right. And look, I know how to get a podcast popular. The Currently On podcast made it to number 2 trending podcast in the United States of America on Spotify. We were beating out major podcasts. We were beating out major. We ultimately got knocked out of the number 1 spot. We were there shortly by Michelle Obama. So I know how to get a podcast to that level. I can, but even if I can, I'm not going to charge. I'm just not going to do so. Now, I could do the Currently On podcast where I was talking about movies and music. I guess I could do that in a subscription-based model, but I don't even. Well, if I do that, then it takes away from everything I'm doing in Theology Central. It's only so much time in a day. So we're not going to do that. I just want I don't want any concerns, any fear. We're not going to have a Patreon page. We're not putting any special content behind any paywall. If I record it, if I do a live broadcast, if I make it, it's going to be there for you on every podcast app that will have us. And we've tried to be on every single one that we can find on earth. If there's a podcast app we're not on, if you tell me about it, I'll find a way to get us on there. I'll do everything in my power. All right. So just keep that in mind. So that's number 1. However, Apple Podcasts have moved to this subscription-based idea. It's still relatively new. I don't know where it's going to go, but there's already Christian podcasts putting their content behind paywalls. There's already multiple ones doing that. I think that's a trend, and it's a trend we're going to fight against. Right? So just keep that in mind. Number 2, another thing Apple Podcast has done. If you go to the Apple Podcast app and you type in Theology Central, guess what you'll find? You're going to see it listed, but if you scroll down just a little bit, it says channels. If you click on it, you're going to see the Theology Central channel. The Theology Central channel, and all of our podcasts are going to be listed under that channel. All right, Theology Central. Now, we're going to have to do a little work on the artwork there. The photograph Yeah, we're going to have to find a way to increase the size of that. So I don't know why it's so small, but we're going to try to find a way to fix that. But the bottom line is right now, if you're on Apple Podcasts, look for Theology Central and look for the Theology Central podcast channel. Now, all of our podcasts will be there. If we ever start a new podcast, it'll be added right there, and you can keep up with all of our content right there. And we'll see if we can improve it. But it's a new thing that Apple did. Now, again, we have a channel, but the channel is not going to be subscription based. It's not going to be subscription based. Now, if we can create a subscription based situation on Apple, but we do it for free so that we are at least listed as a subscription-based channel. When people are looking at subscriptions and they see us and then they click on it and they go, oh, it's free. Maybe I can use that to entice new listeners. Oh, look, that one's $9 a month. This one is free. Now, that may make them view us as not being anything worthwhile because everyone else is charging, but we maybe find a way if we can get listed in the subscription list. If I can find a way to get us listed in the subscription list without being charged, then I'm going to do that. All right. So Apple's moving to a subscription-based model. Now, we're not going to go there, but we are a part of what they call channels, and we now have the Theology Central channel. Please go to the Apple Podcast app and search for Theology Central and look for the channels, and then you can follow the channel. All right. I don't know how that will ultimately help, but it'll go there. Now, what I started to say before I went that direction is that the Apple Podcast app recently has been a mess because they've been bringing all of these changes on board, the subscription-based and doing some of these things. Somewhere in the midst of working on all of that, the Apple Podcast app just basically stopped working. Podcast episodes were not being updated. Some cases, people like the podcast episodes were just disappearing. On my iPad Pro that I have right here, it appears to be working okay today, but my other iPad sitting over there, it's still not working. It's the app is a mess. So I don't know exactly what's going on. I just know this. If you listen to us on Apple Podcast app and you're having any problems, please consider downloading another podcast app. Pocket Cast, Radio Republic, the Edify Christian Podcast app. Those are just a couple of ones. The Spreaker app is a great one just to have, because if you have the Spreaker app, you can listen to us when we're live on the air. So consider downloading the Spreaker podcast app, and then you can listen to us live. And you can chat with me live, and guess what? It's free. I won't charge you to chat with me, okay? Whenever I'm live on the air, we're always there. Chat is open and it is live. And of course, you can email me anytime, newsif@yahoo.com, about anything. All right. And I will do my very best to respond. So that's kind of what's going on with the Apple Podcast app. Now, people have asked, well, how can we support you since you're not going to charge? If you ever want to support us, go to theologycentral.net. That's our pod page, theologycentral.net. Hit on the donate tab, and you can donate. All right. It uses PayPal. It's absolutely up to you. We're not charging you anything. If you want to give us $3, give us $3. You want to give us $1, give us $1. If you want to give us $5, no amount is too small. If you want to do that, you're free to do that. A lot of people have emailed me going, hey, I want to give you. So do I send a check? Where do I send a check to? And I think they get kind of nervous. You can know this. If you go to theologycentral.net and you hit the donate tab, that money goes directly into the Victory Baptist Church account. Does not come to me. It goes to the church account. I don't have access to that, right? I can't take that out. So I guess I have access to it in the sense that I have a debit card that I can use for gasoline. All right. So, but the point is, there's someone else manages the money there. So it goes to the church account. It doesn't come to me. So ultimately, you're supporting the ministry of Victory Baptist Church, which in turn helps support the podcast and pays for everything that we do. All right, the pod page, being able to do live broadcast, being able to have all of our episodes archived on all the podcast apps, all the different things that we do. So if you want to do that, that's fine. It's there. We don't ask, we don't plead, we don't beg, but it's there. So you don't have to. You're not being charged for anything. So if you donate, I'm not promising you extra content. I'm just saying you're able to support us that way. Again, theologycentral.net, donate. You hit donate, and literally I get an email with like 5 seconds saying, someone just donated some money. And it's always awesome when someone did that the other day for $60. And that was, again, it'll pay for gasoline. The next time I go to the church, guess what I'm going to have to stop and do? Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to stop and put gasoline in the car because it's a drive to my church because it's in the middle of nowhere, and it's a drive back. And when you're paying $3 a gallon, that adds up really, really quick. Just going back and forth, and as we've already demonstrated here, can't really do live broadcasts from the house. Really can't because you never know when the phone's going to start ringing. So that's what's going on. Apple Podcasts moving. The subscriptions have started. Look around. Look at what you think. You can tell me what you think. Right now, I don't see any Christian podcasts listed. I'm waiting to see how quickly. What's going to absolutely, when it happens, I'm probably going to fall on the floor and start, just having a seizure. When it's going to be one of these big mega churches, and they're going to take their sermons that are just preached on a Sunday, put it in a podcast form, and then put it as a subscription that you have to pay $3 a month, $4 a month to hear someone's sermons. That's when I'm just going to be the end. I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow, but trust me, it's coming. Trust me, it's coming. And then they're going to make money. And if you don't believe it, there was a day that some very well-respected pastors early on, when sermons were showing up on the internet, I can name some very well-respected pastors that theologically I would have some agreement with. But guess what? You would go to their websites. If you wanted to download their sermons, cost you $1. Cost you $2, cost you $3, whatever the case may be. And I was utterly shocked that these large churches were charging people to hear their sermons when we were a little church in the middle of nowhere and all of our sermons were put online for free. You know the difference? You could say the quality in the preaching, maybe so. But if they have better quality preaching, why would you put a price and put it behind a paywall? But guess what? When you become popular enough, people will pay to get your content. And people the preaching of God's word, the teaching of God's word a price tag should not be placed on it because of the popularity or fame of the one teaching it. Right? So just drives me crazy. So they're moving to a subscription-based model. Go ahead, grab the Apple Podcast app, look around. Spotify is going the same direction. So this is going to spread. It's going to spread. We'll see how if it's a trend or if it goes away, if it's a trend that doesn't last very long, or this is just a massive change in the podcasting world. And again, people who are doing secular podcasts, by all means, charge all you want. Okay, I don't care. I'm talking about podcasts that are trying to teach the word of God and trying to minister to people. That's the difference I'm making there. So subscription-based model. Channels are now active, and the Theology Central channel is now available. It looks a little weird. I'm going to have to see if I can make some changes there. I don't really know exactly what I'm doing, but I'll try to make it look more professional, and just keep that in mind. And if you're having problems with the Apple Podcast app, please look into downloading another app. Okay. Remember, there is not a podcast app that you can find that you're not going to find us on there. We're going to be there. Trust me. I've worked extra hard to make that happen. If you want to look at some places where you can find us, go to theologycentral.net, and right there, you'll have all the places you can subscribe to us from, right? theologycentral.net. You can find all the places, all right? And that's not even all, but that's just scratching the surface of all the apps that we are on. But it lists Pandora, it lists Spreaker, it lists Amazon Music, it lists Pandora. I don't know, Pocket Cast is on there. I don't know all the ones that are on there. You can go take a look, all right? So just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. There you go. I kind of messed up at the beginning there because I started talking about how messed up the app was, and then I started going into some of these things. But some of the reason some of the app is kind of messed up is some of those changes. So I just did not transition properly. I didn't do a good intro, transition, first point, second point, third point, and then a nice conclusion. So don't follow me if you take any classes in public communication because you'll fail. No, I always do good in those classes, but I just did really bad here. Probably because the telephone really messed me up at the beginning. As soon as I hit the button to go, phone starts ringing. And I'm like, I can't stop now. Okay. So yeah, I got a little discombobulated there. All right. There you go. That's the latest, kind of a behind the scenes of what's going on. And right behind me is my dog, Connor. Oh, he was snoring. Okay. I think he opened his eyes and like, why are you talking about me? Stop talking about me. Or you're making me very angry. So, all right. So I'm going to stop talking about Connor. All right. He's about 175 years old. And I'm hoping, yeah, I'm a big animal person. And when it's time for him to go, I'm going to be devastated. Every time a dog has passed, and we always end up with the dogs that nobody else wants. That's the way it goes. But I'm glad that when other people either treat them wrong or don't want them, that I've been able to provide them hopefully a good home and a good life. So, but yeah, that's my buddy, Connor. He's behind me. Now, I'm talking nicely about him. Usually I refer to him as the demon-possessed dog because whenever I'm live on the air or trying to do a podcast, he absolutely goes insane. Okay, so yeah, he's got some serious mental problems. All right, we'll stop right there. I think so. I think I've said that now 15 times, but now everything's quiet, so I don't want to stop. Now I'm like, okay, what do I do now? Okay, let's do something else. But well, this one's already been labeled, and that's what we talked about. So there you have it. If you ever have any questions about what we're doing, trying to do, always feel free to email me, newsif@yahoo.com, newsif@yahoo.com. Everyone have a great evening. God bless.